How does a person decide where to dig a well? What do chains have to do with pumping water? What is an Amish well bucket? What the heck is water witching? And does it work? Find out on this episode. Welcome to Writing Rule with Allie, the fiction writer's inspiration station for rural life and lifestyles. From historical to post-apocalyptic, helping you bring your rural stories to life. I'm Allie, and this is episode number 43, Wells Part 2. Stick around to the end to find out all the ways things could possibly go wrong. Now, let's get into this. In Wells Part 1, I covered what a well is, ways to make them, well depth, and potential contaminants. If you didn't hear it, you can check it out, but after you're done listening to this one. If you're wondering why they dig wells and not just live by a river, there are several reasons. 1. Rivers flood, and historically they don't have the kind of flooding warnings that we do now. 2nd, predators hunt along the river since many animals come there to get water. It makes sense to build your homes where your children will be less likely to become prey, or even your character themselves. And 3rd, it might not be easy to make a home close to the river. With all the water flowing into the river, if there was no modern-day excavation and water drainage, there might be deep ravines around the river. This could mean that if they build a house there, it is on unstable ground. There might not be a good place to grow crops or have livestock of any kind, because with heavy rain, it might flow off into the river. Another thing to think about is that river water is not the cleanest. Between the fish poop and potential diseases, and there are chemicals to worry about in modern times. Groundwater has been filtered through the ground, taking out most impurities before it reaches the well. It cannot always purify the modern chemicals, but if the chemicals have not been used close to the ground near where the well is, or are brought into the area by rain runoff, the well is much cleaner than the water that comes out of the river. That said, I know wells that have had the flood go over and down into the well, contaminating it. Something to think about. Some of you might be wondering how people know where to dig to find water. There were many ways to make an educated guess. In most places, but not all, you will find water if you just dig deep enough. That's not a huge deal outside of the money aspect in modern times when drilling a well. However, hand digging a well 1,000 feet into the ground would take much longer than digging 100 feet. So the real question becomes, what is the best spot that will have the least amount of digging needed to make a well? There have been many ways to find this throughout the world. The Romans believed that laying on the ground and watching where the dew accumulated and evaporated into the air would be the best spot. They also used a method that dug a short ways down and placed a pot covered in a layer of olive oil upside down in the hole. Then it was covered with dirt and logs. They checked it the next day, and if they found water droplets in the pot, it was believed to be a good place to dig a well. However, the most well-known method that is used all over the world is called water witching, which was originally done with a Y-shaped willow branch that is about the size around of your pinky, and usually roughly 3 feet long. The Y was held loosely in the palms of a person's hands. They walked around, and where the water flowed underground, the end of the stick would be pulled down. I have also seen this done with peach branches, and even copper wire in 2 L shapes. They were held closely together, but in opposite hands. When the copper crossed, that was where the water was. Most people who have never seen this done do not believe it works. I have seen this done, and it works. Not only did it work where the wells should be dug, but I have seen it used to find water lines and septic lines that people were unsure where they were in a 100-square-foot area and didn't know where to start digging. I have only seen it done one time where it didn't work, and that was with a drunk guy trying to water witch for the first time, with no idea what he was doing. It didn't end pretty. Other ways people found water was by finding large clusters of trees. This meant that there was water their roots had gotten down to. They also looked for plants known to need a lot of water. Examples were willow trees, persimmon trees, cattails, and sedges, among other things. They sometimes dug them in dry creek beds. Other things some people did was to let thirsty horses go and follow it. Horses can smell water from quite a ways off and will instinctively go to where it is when they are thirsty. Now let's cover different ways to draw the water. There is the well-known well bucket, made of wood and metal rings to hold them together. However, there has been almost as many types of things used as there are objects to hold water. This includes, but is definitely not limited to, buckets made of or from Pottery, ceramics, tin, cast iron. Man, that would be heavy. Leather, animal bladders, gourds, wood, plastic for modern or post-apocalyptic stories. Brass, iron, aluminum, copper, and modern-day galvanized steel. There's also the well bucket designed for a drill well if no pump is placed in the well. They're commonly referred to as an Amish well bucket. They're roughly 3.5 inches in diameter and 52 inches long. They hold roughly 2 gallons of water and look like a long tube. Some people make their own out of PVC pipe. I find it's a little trickier getting out such a long object from a well, but it does work. Well buckets are lowered in and brought up by a rope or chain. There are a few things to think about. Some chains could be made of lead or could rust. Ropes could carry bacteria or germs. Also, ropes can rot or even be cut. This could unintentionally lead to buckets being lost in the well, and rotting woods or metals leaching into the water can lead to diseases. In modern times, there's electric pumps that can be run with the same electricity you use for your home. It can also be run on solar power. I have seen windmills used to charge batteries to run electric pumps. For other wells, some people use hand pumps, aka a piston pump. These use suction. They are sometimes used with a hand pump. Other times, farmers use a windmill to draw out the water for their livestock. They can pump between 2 and 20 gallons per minute, the lower number for the hand pumps, and the higher for strong winds with a windmill. Many modern off-the-grid homes also use these for pumping water for above-ground storage tanks. Chain pumps, called a Norris, work like a water wheel, drawing the water up the chain. Both are common in Amish and Mennonite communities and on many off-the-grid homesteads. I do know that the chain is not favored in my area for more than home cisterns. If the chain breaks, it can cause problems in the hand-dug wells. Cisterns under the home are rarely more than 20 feet. At least here in Tornado Alley. Cisterns are basically water storage that's found under the home. They are most often collect rainwater, but I have known a few that have used it to store well water, and they carry it in every morning by the bucketful. Speaking of hauling water, it can be pulled up all year round. The reason is that the water is most often found below the freeze line, meaning that it doesn't freeze. The average temperature of well water is between 35 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit or 1 to 25 degrees Celsius. That means that the well doesn't freeze in winter and is a nice cool drink in the summertime. Fun fact, the most widely known joke for anyone who has lived to go from well water to running water in their home is, when I was young, we had running water if you held a bucket and ran with it. Now for everyone's favorite part, what could possibly go wrong? Well, let me tell you. Likely to go wrong, your character's chain pump breaks and falls into the well, and this could potentially contaminate the well. Also likely to go wrong, your character's pump needs to have parts replaced. This requires pulling it out of the well. Possible to go wrong, your character has to draw water out of the well by hand and carry it uphill a long way. This is tiring, but a great workout. Also possible to go wrong, your character asks a water witcher to tell them where to dig a well, and then decide that they don't believe them and digs it somewhere else. They might be digging a lot longer than they had to. Unlikely to go wrong, your character forgets to stop the pump on a windmill, and it pumps the water until the well is dry. Also unlikely to go wrong, your character is getting water with a bucket in the winter. And it is so cold that the rope or chain freezes after it was in the water in the well. This makes it impossible for them to pull the bucket up. Improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. Your character uses a cast iron cauldron to get water. The cauldron and water combined are so heavy they lose their balance and fall into the well. They could hit their head or break a bone on the cast iron. Even if they have no injuries, there might not be anyone around, and no way to get help out of the well. This could be deadly. Also improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. Your character uses a water witcher to find water, and the townsfolk accuse them of witchcraft. You can find this episode's show notes and helpful links to learn more on my website, alleyhart.com. That's ALLEYHART.com. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and follow for more episodes. Connect on my YouTube videos by dropping me a comment. A new episode comes out every Monday. Until then, happy wordsmithing.